How about another dance with the lady in black? That's right. NASCAR is returning to Darlington Raceway. We'll give you our picks and predictions for a full weekend of racing on this beautiful Labor Day weekend. Buckle up. It's the Backroad coming right at you.
It's a non-points race, but it is a short race. Checker flag. That's where all this race
What's going on, folks? Welcome into the Backroad. It is In Between Media's NASCAR betting show. My name's Elliot Hicks. With me is Seth Woolcock. And the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs begin this weekend at Darlington Raceway with the Cookout Southern 500. The round of 16 as the best 16 in the sport this season. They're going to go for a title. Cheers to the playoffs and cheers to 7 million beers, Seth Woolcock.
Hey, cheers to you, Elliot, and your guy Alex Bowman sneaking in the back door yet again into the playoffs, man. What a fun race at Daytona. Definitely not great for the wallet, but otherwise a fascinating feat out there. And man, I couldn't tell you how excited I am for this weekend as well. Not only is it Labor Day weekend, a little 3-day weekend for the boys and the girls out there, but in addition, we're heading back to Darlington, a place where we've had success in the past. And now we got some college football offerings, maybe a little parlay action that we'll tease a little bit later, but excited for it all. Excited to be breaking it down with you tonight, my friend.
Hey, man, we should know there's nothing wrong with taking the back road to get into the playoffs. Work for Tyler Reddick, too. We'll look back at a wild weekend at Daytona and talk about the playoff field a little bit, break down Darlington and our Horizon forecast, and then give you our parking garage props with the Cup and the Truck Series starting off their playoffs at Darlington. And the Xfinity Series goes road racing out in the Pacific Northwest in Portland for the final time, at least for a little bit, because it's not on the schedule. Shout out to everyone we've got in the comments, all our live viewers here. Shout out to everyone listening on the audio version. Shout out to our friends in West Tennessee on 101.5 FM, 8 o'clock Saturday nights. Tune in there. But an extra special shout out, of course, to our friends in the IBT racing family. I was going to say friends and family, talk myself out of it, but they really are the family. That's what they've been all year, and we've been real happy to have them as a part of us here. Of course, the perks for the racing family. At just $3.99 a month or $36 for the year, you get our full betting cards. Of course, sometimes we don't have the time to read off all of our bets in the hour routine we have allotted. So you get them there. You get entry into our memorabilia giveaways, which we got a nice Alex Bowman autographed diecast coming up soon. Gives you access to our exclusive weekly betting model, which, I mean, Daytona, it looked pretty good until that stage 1 crash kind of messed things up. And it gives you access to the conversation, myself and Seth and Rod, Ryan for my fantasy race, and all our pals over there chopping it up and just getting the best analysis over there. That's been extra fun, and it's now even more fun in the IBT football family, as we see right here. That same price, $3.99 a month, $36 for the year. You don't just get in the racing family. You get to be a part of the football family as well. Yeah. Memorabilia giveaways going on over there. Exclusive Q&A, start and sit, whatever you want to ask, Discord show with Phil and Ben going to be firing up here soon as week 1 is ever so close. Joining the conversation with Seth and all the gang over there. Of course, I'll be in with some banter. Rod will probably be in with some banter. But it'll be you guys, the betting analysts, that primarily focus on the football stuff as well, that will throw out your full weekly betting cards on the NFL and the college side. And a little touchdown contest, too. You throw in your picks each week. We'll keep track of it and give away a plaque at the end of the year. Lots of fun as the weather's cooling down here in Pennsylvania. It's going to be a good fall to be in the IBT family for sure.
It really is, man. And it is definitely cooling down. I was telling Katie the other day, we just moved over the summer. Our new house has a wood stove. And I was like, we're going to fire up that wood stove pretty soon, man. It's been getting down into the high 40s or low 50s up here. So love it. Love this time of year, man. It's fantastic.
Yeah, getting some unseasonably cool weather up here, but it's just adding to that vibe of the fall sports, one of the best times of the year.
Yes.
And the playoffs as well. We got our friends here in the comments here. Marcus, of course, popping in. Throw in your picks, not only for Darlington, but for the championship 4. We already know Chris Bell's in Marcus's championship 4. We got Cushion as well. His money's on William Byron to win this week. John is thinking Kyle Larson, and Eric Larson thinking the 6 of Brad Keselowski takes the win this week. Throw your picks in there. We're excited to chop up Darlington with you, and we're extra excited about our partner we've been telling you about the last couple of weeks over at myTickets.
Yeah, myTickets, guys. If you haven't heard of them yet, shout out to them. They're on a mission right now to save $4 million on tickets this year alone by helping you buy at the right time. Their auto buy feature automatically purchases tickets for you during price drops. Or you can also use their buy now tracking, which notifies you when tickets are projected to be at their absolute cheapest, so you can save the most bang for your buck. Whether you're trying to attend your favorite sporting event, we got NASCAR races still going down. We got NFL, college football games happening as well. Your favorite concert or festival, musical, play, myTickets has you covered. Go to mytickets.com right now. Use the promo code IBT and start saving up to 20% or more on your next event. Our partners, we really appreciate them, supporting the show, powering the show, and by helping support them, you're helping support us as well. So head over to myTickets right now. And Elliot, I know you're a concert guy, you're a sporting event guy. Any more festivities for you the rest of the way here through the rest of the year?
Yeah, normally I hit up a music festival late September. That's not in the budget this year. I would say I've lost a little too much money betting, but that hasn't been the case. We've been pretty much on fire. It unfortunately was not the case at Daytona, but it was a fun weekend, though. Let's take a look back in the review. All right, so at Daytona, we had the Xfinity and the Cup Series races. Cool story in the Xfinity race. We knew that Connor Zilic was not going to run the full race over there, and Parker Kligerman was the relief driver picked by Dale Jr. To come in there and take over that 88 car, and he ends up winning the race. The perfect Parker Kligerman situation of not getting credit for a second Daytona win this season, but he ends up winning in that 88. And a wild stat from the Xfinity series that shows just how good Junior Motorsports has been. They have had at least one car placed in the top 5 in 26 consecutive Xfinity races. They're on fire over there with that organization. And another win there, Connor Zilic and Parker Kligerman splitting the winnings there at the Xfinity side.
It's just insane, man. I mean, everyone on the internet who was getting upset about Connor Zilic running out and celebrating with our guy Parker Kligerman, come on. Like, that was just a cool moment. I feel bad for Parker Kligerman, though, because between Daytona earlier this season, what was that, in the truck series, last year in Xfinity at a road course, he also got a win taken away from him. So this guy should have like 3 more wins to his resume than he does, Elliot. So that's kind of wild. But a really fun race overall. And I think it was a good one that was going to happen for the betting cards as well. We hit that Justin Allgaier over Brandon Jones, never a doubt in my mind. We went, that's 10 for 10 now, hitting against each other at Daytona. So that was a great cash, minus 120 for 2 units. Looked like we were going to get a little Patrick Emmerling top 10, and you're going to hit a long shot top 10 too. But the big bad wolf, Austin Hill, didn't get his way. So he had to throw a temper tantrum and turn left again on the joystick.
Yeah, that certainly got to be a bit of a mess there at the end. Kligerman ending up with the win. I did hit my big money Jesse Love top 5 bet at even money, which did help out. But things didn't go so as well on the Cup side with our betting card. We both were expecting the big one was going to come later. We threw money into stage matchups, thinking that would be out of the way. Didn't quite work for us. The end of that race, though, wild as you had so many guys going for the win and they needed that win to make the playoffs. At the end of the day, it's Ryan Blaney, super speedway ace that I don't know if we forgot about him, but I feel like we weren't super duper high on Ryan Blaney. He wasn't like the first guy that jumped out for us. We had money on RFK. We had money on Hendrick. Blaney was a guy that kind of, at least from my memory, kind of faded under the radar, but he killed all those winning in dreams with an unbelievable late run. 13th to first in the last couple of laps. Gained Suarez some spots. Custer going up to the front. That third line really worked after the Hendrick cars chucked out Preece.
It was absolutely insane. I thought, I was like, is Cole Custer really going to win this? Are we going to get that 301 championship ticket another day? No, we didn't, because Ryan Blaney just put himself in a position once again. This is what this guy does. This is why I think, him and his teammate Austin Cindric are 2 of the best, if not the best plate racers in NASCAR, drafting track racers, whatever you want to call them at this point. But really, really great to see that. And I'll tell you what, Elliot, you got to trust your gut when you're a gambler as much as the stats and all the metrics are telling you. I had a bad feeling going into last week because I really was like, man, I don't know if I want to get super invested. We've been on a hot streak, and we opted to go a little bit heavy in that stage 1 matchup department. And the one I didn't pull the trigger on, of course, was Kyle Larson over Chris Buescher, which ended up hitting. And the two I pulled the trigger on, I had a juiced Austin Cindric bet, was looking like it was going to cash easily. Brad Keselowski was a top 5 car. And then just things got chaotic real quickly. And the big one came in stage 1. So again, I think I'm back to my priors where unless there's like some top 20 or some lead lap finishes, I'm probably taking a couple dart throws and really going to try to limit myself super speedways moving forward. Because I don't have the heart for it anymore. I'm too old, my friend. I'm too old.
Yeah, that bold strategy didn't work out for me. Went over on the Cup side. Had a couple of standings matchups work themselves out though. Way back in, it must have been January, if not even December, placing some of those bets on Caesars that they had. Clinched Chase Briscoe over Ty Gibbs, as well as Alex Bowman over Chris Buescher because of the playoffs, and one didn't. But I lost out on Brad Keselowski over Ross Chastain. All those were at even money. So I feel like you win 2, you lose 1. I've still got some others floating out there. And hey, my season-long card was pretty much set as a success with those Zilich overs that I placed. But still neat as we get down to the end of the year to have some of those. Obviously, we got to wait till after Phoenix for them to cash, but nice to have some more of those settled as you had as well.
Yeah, dude, it's always a great time when you can cash a couple futures, right? And when you cash them early, so, like even Bet365, they paid me out a couple of my futures already. I don't know if you got that as well, but I had a nice 6 units sitting in there from the Bubba Wallace over, so that was great to see. We wanted to touch on a couple comments here. I think it's our guy Charles from last year who was always saying drafting fantasy teams, listening to In Between. Let's go. I know Chuck's been busy out there with the family, so appreciate him making some time for us today. And it is that time of year, Elliot. I got my my home draft on Sunday. We got a little golf scramble in the morning, then we go back and do some drafting. So kind of fits, right? I mean, we host a golf scramble at a fantasy football expo. We also do a fantasy football draft party. So it kind of fits the billing. Excited to see the boys this weekend. And TK saying, my takeaway from that is the 88 car is just that good. Zilich, while great, and maybe giving too much credit to him. So yeah, it's a good point, Elliot. What is your opinion on that? Is Zilich really elite, or is that 88 car maybe just rigged up a little bit better than the rest of this JRM crew?
I think it's a combination of both. When you put a really good driver with high upside in a really good car, you're going to see really good things happen. Of course, some of those wins, of course, super speedways can be fickle, and not anybody can win there. Basically, anybody can win there. Him being so good on the road courses, that's given the 88 a couple extra wins. Dover was a victory for them that was a rain out. You know, who knows if he would have won that race if that had gone the whole way. TK mentioning something he didn't take into account as Watkins Glen. 88 is a regular car better than the part-time 9. Well, considering the 88 had to take out the 9 inadvertently to win that race, I'm not entirely sure if SVG was that much better. But yeah, we saw Chicago. It took SVG bumping him out of the way to get that. And then at Sonoma, the 88 outdueling the 9. So I just think it's one of those Zilich versus SVG things that we're going to see at the Cup level most likely next year. Or in fact, that's been made as official next year. But most likely they'll both be running up front at the road courses.
Yeah, agreed. Looking forward to that, man. We will be betting very heavily juiced odds for both of them. I'm sure week in and week out at those road courses next year, which I think we have one less than we do on the schedule in 2025.
I'd have to count that up. We'd have to go back and look. If you want to hear us break down the schedule for next year, you can do that probably after the episode. Preferably go back and take a look at our breakdown from last week that we had. But yeah, as we move into the Fast Lap news for the week, we'll start off with that the Zilich deal was made official. No number yet. I'm not sure if Trackhouse is going to mess around with that 88, the 97, the 99, the 1, and things like that. Red Bull and WeatherTech will continue to sponsor Zilich in whatever car he's in. We already knew that was going to happen. Some other Trackhouse news. Chastain and Suarez have swapped Jackman for the playoffs. Big news that we don't have anything quite confirmed yet, as the judge will rule on the hearing that happened today in NASCAR, as people are calling it, the 20th and Front Row Motorsports versus NASCAR deal. The decision is coming next week. The Thursday hearing is debating on the preliminary injunction on whether either 2311 and Front Row can continue to race as chartered cars for the rest of the year, or if NASCAR has full control and can go and sell their charters before the trial in December. So big time hearing here. It was described today as being explosive and contentious. There's a lot of things that came out and leaked in terms of private messages. Well, not leaked, but were revealed in open court as it happens. We can't say some of those words on here, but you can go and look at that stuff. Just some other news and notes that came from that. If NASCAR is able to sell those charters, they will reimburse 2311 and Front Row Motorsports for the money that they paid for them.
That's good.
The judge, he's being very fair, very impartial, says neither one of you guys, neither side should feel confident toward victory, and that the case will go to trial and things will get crazy if that happens, because he said there's too many documents that are private. All of those redacted things are going to be unredacted and made public if it goes to trial. And like I said, private messages, unkind to say the least to both parties, with some wild things being said. And even things as crazy in terms of internal NASCAR documents, NASCAR suggesting that if they have to do something different, maybe they would buy Speedway Motorsports. Maybe they would just field their own cars. And who needs teams? We can just run the NASCAR series with 36 NASCAR cars. Both of these sides are prepared for anything. Michael Jordan says he is ready essentially to fight to the death here for this. I feel like I say this every time we have one of these updates because it's still so much speculation and so much yet to be decided, but it really is starting to get crazy now, Seth.
Man, the gloves came off from what we're hearing from all the beat reporters coming out of there. And shout out to not only the athletic crew, but everyone who was down there in Charlotte while this was happening. It seems like it was just an absolutely wild morning and afternoon there in the courthouse. And like, I feel so bad for Michael Jordan and Denny in one corner, right? Like the fact that they're having to go through this and lead the charge. And, I think that, it came out a little bit that they're kind of disgruntled with some of the other teams that didn't go to war with them. So they're kind of out here on an island, them and Front Row Motorsports, of course. So terrible to hear that. But, this is going to get messier and we're going to hear more and more things like hearing some of those text messages about what, MJ was saying and what the France family was saying. I mean, this is contentious now. And I don't know if there's ever repairing the relationship between these parties, beyond, a great settlement just kind of coming down the middle out of nowhere.
Yeah, and that definitely is in play. Michael Jordan and attorney Jeffrey Kessler saying they've never closed the door on a settlement, and it could get to the point where enough things will be revealed about how NASCAR works that maybe they won't want that out in the public eye. And I will say this, regardless of what side you're on out there, it is neat that someone like Michael Jordan, one of the most famous athletes in the history of the modern world, cares about NASCAR, comes into NASCAR, has deep pockets to go and hit this inflection point that we weren't sure if we were going to have. MJ and his business manager, Curtis Polk, who has said he's, so his watching races, he was kind of bored with it. He's like, man, Michael, you shouldn't be spending all this money on this. MJ says, man, you can only play so much golf, even if it costs this much money. I've lost that much in a casino. So MJ is all in on it. And it's nice to see. I mean, you got to love a good battle. This is a heck of a war that we haven't seen in the history of NASCAR, and it's going to continue to be that way as time goes on this fall and then this winter. If we end up in a full-blown trial, it'll make our off-season shows a heck of a lot more interesting if we have some court updates every week too.
Yeah, just leave the gambling out of it. Just keep gambling safe.
I'll get the odds of who's going to win the trial. Will this be revealed about NASCAR? Was this guy going to stick?
There's a little off-season episode potentially handicapping this lawsuit. But man, we'll see.
Federal law. We're just kidding. I don't know what the statutes are.
Yeah. We'll see what happens though, man. But as you said, just unprecedented time, and I think we'll look back at this moment a few years from now, and hopefully things come out on the right end. Which I think everyone has their opinion on what they want to see happen and unfold here. But regardless of it, hopefully everything works out, and we'll look back at this as just what you said, an inflection point that it took some really deep pockets and some big old balls on the table from Michael Jordan and company to do this. So shout out to them, and shout out to NASCAR. We'll see who settles this one and who gets the upper hand.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Long way to go there. If the charter thing stays kind of similar, though, BJ McLeod was on a podcast earlier this week, says, hey, with the right partnership, in the right situation, I'd buy a charter again tomorrow. It shows that there's a lot of moving and shaking and a lot of interest out there, including from a lot of redacted parties that if it goes to trial, we'll find out who was interested. NASCAR may be giving charters or selling charters to particular people that they pick out. It's wild.
I just love BJ. Not ready to hang it up, bro. Not ready to get out of the game. Just in it for the love of it.
BJ loves racing, but the only thing he probably loves more than racing is making money. And he can do both of those things if he gets another charter. Don't have to worry about charters in the truck series, which is what the rest of our news is about. That was confirmed. Kaulig Racing will field up to 5 Ram trucks next year. Ram is essentially funding the program in its entirety, so it really opens up some doors. Some rumors thrown around, maybe a guy like Butterbean could come in. Some of these guys don't have to just be paid drivers. The partnership was announced at a Dodge dealership down in Florida that was owned by Daniel Dye's father. So maybe Daniel Dye takes a step down from Xfinity, goes and runs one of those trucks again in the Kaulig family already. I don't know if they're going to run 5 full-time. I don't know if they're going to run 5 full-time drivers. Maybe they do 4 in an all-star car of sorts. Either way, nice to have Dodge / Rams / Stellantis / whatever you want to call it. They're back in the series. This was a good business move for Matt Kaulig and Chris Rice to be the first people in the door. And they're going to be fun to watch and probably field some pretty competitive trucks and drivers next year.
I think absolutely they will. And Daniel Dye's been really impressive at times at both the Xfinity and Truck Series level. So I think this would be a home run call for him. And then I feel like there's a couple people, we've heard the rumors, if they get someone like a Butterbean in there, like a Cletus McFarlane, I mean, this could be an explosive, just a very fun team to watch, and really, really excited for Ram to be back in. And like, it's not like they're just doing the hokey pokey, right? Like they're also going all in on this, which you just love to see. And hopefully it means better things and more further things to come potentially in the Xfinity and Cup Series for Dodge Ram here.
Yeah, and Kaulig, like I said, getting their foot in the door first. There was Chevrolet now. They're quite a ways down the pecking order. If they become the 1 team or the 2 team with Dodge,
makes sense.
That could be something to watch for too, and kind of take them back to it's a good times the Xfinity level. Probably going to scale back to 2 full-time Xfinity teams to help this truck effort. Which, like I said, 5 trucks. It'd be great if we see, Daniel Dye is obviously a guy with some upside. Guys like Butterbean to get that chance that don't have all the full funding that some of these paid drivers have would be neat. It wouldn't surprise me if they do bring in one of those paid drivers. There's one that runs for Tricon that certainly brings a lot of money without the finishes. That certain somebody could help out over there. And then an all-star truck, and then Cletus will be fun too, because it'll be just as much about the on-track product as it is about the marketing and having a freaking good time. And we know that Cletus McFarlane is a guy that can have a good time too.
Cletus and Butterbean, that is must-see internet right there, my friend.
It'll be fun to watch. One more piece. Unfortunately, it was announced today. Frankie Muniz was trying to change his batteries in his Ring doorbell. Fell off a ladder, fracture of his wrist. He will not be racing at Darlington, nor for the foreseeable future because of that. Really unfortunate for Frankie. I mean, he was no championship contender by any means, but has shown some progress throughout the year in some less than desirable trucks. And unfortunate that, he's going to be out a couple of weeks, if not the remainder of the year, with a wrist fracture.
Man, I mean, everyone thinks this guy has everything, but just keeping up with him on social media, it seems like whether it's like airport delays, craziness going on with rental cars, this guy just has like a streak of bad luck a little bit. So terrible to hear for Frankie Muniz, man. I mean, it wasn't, I think the season he dreamed of by any means, but I mean, he's had some really good runs, man. There are some races you've looked up there, and not just super speedways where you look up and it's like, dang, Frankie Muniz is running like 11th or 12th out there. So, that's a bummer to see, Elliot. It really is, because, he's always been great to the media in this industry, always been great to the fans as well. So, you want to see Frankie currently P24 in the points to at least finish this thing out.
Yeah, hopefully he can at least come back for the last couple races there, finish what he started. Like I said, less than desirable truck, but able to learn as much as he can and further his racing career. But sometimes, as they say at the end of a certain theme song, life is unfair. Frankie Muniz there. All right, so that's it for our Fast Lap news. Let's talk a little bit about the NASCAR Cup Series playoff field. The 16 drivers locked in after Daytona. Round 1 is Darlington, Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway in St. Louis, and then Bristol to close it out. Of course, all 16 drivers are still alive, and it starts to get pretty close when you're in the bottom of the field there and in the middle. We'll start from the bottom here. Currently, at the end of the cut line here, Josh Berry, 1 point behind the cut line. Tyler Reddick is also -1. Austin Dillon -2. Alex Bowman -5. They're all drivers that have had their moments this year. For Berry, the tracks match up pretty well. For Austin Dillon, the short tracks match up pretty well. Reddick is one of those guys that he can kind of have speed come out at any given time, and Darlington's pretty good for him. And Bowman has had his share of poor runs at Darlington, Gateway, but he's had good runs at Bristol and also can pull out a top 10 in this Darlington fall race in the playoffs. None of these guys, I feel like, are certain eliminations to stay below the cut line.
No, absolutely not, man. And like Reddick and Bowman are those types of guys who I don't know if I see them winning a race in this round 1. However, I can certainly see them going up, getting some stage points consistently, having good, consistent top 10, top 15 runs that could potentially progress them into that next round. So it's not the crew that if you're right above the cut line that you want below the cut line, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they all can have some momentum. I think of these four, I honestly think Berry and Reddick are more likely to stay below than Dillon and Bowman. For Bowman, the tracks don't look good, but if he can make it past round 1, it could be another sneaky round of 8 run. Fingers crossed for passing inspection there for the 48. Austin Dillon too on the short tracks, and then you get if he can run pretty well there too. But with Berry, he's only had, I think, the one top 10, if that, no top 5 since the Vegas win. And Reddick, he was interviewed after Daytona, and he wasn't a guy that was really happy, stoked to be in the playoffs. He was a guy that's like, man, it's been tough this year. We haven't gotten a win. We haven't had the consistent speed. He was not a guy that was super excited for the playoffs, but a little date with the lady in black can change that real quick.
Yeah, that's a crazy statement that you think Austin Dillon is more likely to get out of this round still alive than Tyler Reddick.
It's only track selection, man. I mean, he's had decent runs at Darlington. Gateway and Bristol kind of match up with that short track pedigree that RCR's had.
You're not wrong. And we haven't seen it from Tyler Reddick on a consistent basis. Like, really always the issue with betting him and why we haven't. I mean, I don't think you and I have barely bet Tyler Reddick much this season outside of like a fairly priced outright, because for the most part, he has top 10 speed on the day. He runs top 10, and then about 40, 50 to go, you usually see Reddick somewhere between 10th and 15th, right? He falls kind of down the pecking order a little bit. So, you might be onto something. I just don't trust Austin Dillon as far as I can throw him still. And look, I know he proved me wrong a couple weeks ago, but I need to see it, I think, one more time, and then maybe I'll jump on this RCR bandwagon. But look, it's hard to back them when someone associated with their team has just been consistently screwing me over all year long in the Xfinity series.
Yeah, I don't blame him for the disdain there. The 4 just above the cut line are the most to worry about. Joey Logano is the 12 seed, just 1 point above the cut line. So is Ross Chastain.
Yeah.
He's the 11 seed. Austin Cindric and Bubba Wallace are your 10 and 9 seeds with just 2 points to gain on the cut line. A really eclectic group of drivers here. We know that Logano can pull some playoff magic out of his rear end, but it is an odd-numbered year, so I don't know that Logano's even making it out of the round of 16, honestly. But he does he can pull out. Ross Chastain is sneaky. He's maybe the most up and down, sneaky, but also could lay an egg driver that we have in the playoffs. Look great at the Coke 600. Looks great when he has speed. Can turn a bad car into a decent run. It's just all a matter of how Trackhouse really shakes it out. Darlington, a good track for him. Gateway is almost still kind of fresh to everybody, only the handful of races there. Cindric really turned it on in the playoffs last year. He was one of those guys. Cindric, Suarez, Bowman, low seeds, not really expected to do much. That really turned it on when we hit the playoffs, and was a crash at Talladega away from a potential round of 8 run there for Cindric. Bubba Wallace, one of those guys, it was the first year that he didn't have to have that bubble pressure the whole way through. He was able to they locked themselves in at Indy, was able to chill a little bit, maybe develop a couple of things, and it gives me some hope for this 23 heading into this first round here. They can stay above that cut line.
Yeah, for me, it's like, give me the Penske guys. Give me the Penske guys, and like I'll fade the rest of this tier, honestly. And I'm a Ross guy too, right? But I just think like Ross, to really make a deep run, is going to have to win another race, because I don't think he is consistent enough with his finishes right now to get there. I mean, this doesn't shake out too bad for Bubba Wallace. He's not terrible at Bristol. He's had some good runs at Darlington. He's, shaking out pretty high in our projections this week as well. So, could get himself there. I definitely have a little more confidence in him than I think I do someone like Tyler Reddick or some guys in that bottom tier. Still, though, Penske live or die right now, I feel like, until we get some of these top level organizations and drivers for me. But I totally understand the handicapping of being high on someone like Bubba Wallace, and Ross Chastain has a high ceiling where he can win almost each and every week.
Yeah, Chastain, the fall Kansas winner during the playoffs last year. I don't hate Penske, but I like the Penske guy that's a little further up the board more than I like Cindric and Logano as we continue to creep up the board. The 8 seed, Chase Briscoe, +4. He's a big-time, sneaky, underrated championship favorite. Chase Elliott is +7 as the 7 seed. Shane Van Gisbergen, the big topic of conversation as well, +16 on the cut line. Christopher Bell, +17 on the cut line as the 5 seed. Same as Chastain, SVG. The big question in this group, can Trackhouse give him a car that's good enough on ovals? Can he be good enough on ovals? Is 16 points on the cut line enough of a buffer? Can enough guys have problems for SVG to go out and run 15th and make the next round and get to that roval?
I don't. This is the toughest round for him, right? This is where he has to go, because even that round of 4 or round of 8 into the round of 4, you like that because there's a super speedway. There's a track like Martinsville where he's proven to be good at. Darlington, he's had a decent run here and there in the Xfinity Series, but I don't expect a ton from him at Gateway, and Bristol feels a bit like a mixed bag too. So there's a great chance SVG's out of the playoffs after this round, or it's like he's either out here or he's probably making the round of 8, right?
Yeah, as long as he can win the Roval, which we thought was a slam dunk at the Xfinity level last year and didn't happen, but he's in a Trackhouse car, not a Kaulig car this year, maybe a little bit of difference there. But yeah, for SVG, it's tough because he doesn't have to go out there and light the world on fire, because you always see guys who run like garbage. You always see guys who run into issues. I think it only takes like a 17th place average finish to land on the bubble and qualify out of the round of 16. It's something SVG has the capability of doing, just maybe not at these tracks. Darlington's one of the toughest out there. He's never been to Gateway, and Bristol, I think they were 11,000 laps down there in the spring. So going to be tough even with that buffer. In terms of Elliott, Briscoe, and Bell, this is where you really crack open your championship contenders here.
Yes.
Chase Elliott, only the one win, not a lot of playoff points, but had that super duper run of consistency until 4 or 5 weeks ago. Or I think Watkins Glen was his first finish outside the top 20, and he's had a few others since then. But for the 9, definitely going to look to hit their stride. Chase Briscoe already hitting their stride. +4 on the cut line. 19 teams run great. I see them continuing to run great. Whether he can win a title, I've seen some people throw him in their championship 4. That may be a bridge too far, but I certainly don't think you're seeing Briscoe get knocked out here. And same with Bell. I mean, his 3 wins came early in the year. It hasn't been the most successful since then, but the 20 car, especially at these kind of tracks, I don't see any problems at all with the 20.
Yeah, I jumped on Christopher Bell on the championship outright a couple months ago, late July coming into August. And I just was expecting a little more of some of these short flats that we've seen from him so far. So I'm honestly a little bit disappointed. I actually kind of have a bad number on that now. I was waiting for him to get closer to 6-1. I got him right around 6-1, and now I've seen some bigger numbers than that. So I don't love that. Chase Briscoe is a guy I've been staring down the barrel with too, because I've seen him floating around there 20-1 at times. And I think that's still a really, really solid number if you can find something in that metric for Chase Briscoe. I've seen him closer to 16, 14 this week when I was poking around the streets, but another guy that the tracks line up really well for him. I think he could be a contender at Gateway. I think he could be a contender as we get later in the playoffs as well, places like New Hampshire, places like Martinsville. So very, very interested in Chase Briscoe, and really this entire tier has a lot of upside, and as you said, championship contender written all over him.
Yeah, number that I should go and find is the Chase Briscoe to make the championship 4 ticket, which I have a lot more faith in than him actually winning the championship, because it's a whole other bridge there when you get to Phoenix. And you probably have at least one of these 4 guys in your top 4 seeds that are going to be there. Ryan Blaney +20, Denny Hamlin +23, and then Kyle Larson and William Byron tied for the top seed at +26 on the cut line. For these guys, all they have to do is have average days. They don't have to go set the world on fire. Average days for their experience and their average running days. Generally these guys are top 10, top 5 win contenders. Larson has been the one that has run the worst as we've come down the summer stretch. Byron was able to pick up another win. Denny Hamlin, co-leader in wins in the series this year with 4. And Ryan Blaney's been the hottest driver in the garage. This could very easily be a championship 4, and it wouldn't bother me at all. And that would satisfy the non-playoffs people, because they were your top 4 seeds if they made the Final 4.
No, and it really would. It really would make sense if that's how everything shakes out at the end. Larson has been running that great. He has had a couple runs here and there. I liked him last week. He helped me out in fantasy quite a bit. It was a pretty non-conventional play to super speedway. Byron started to pick it back up. Blaney started to pick it back up. Hamlin's been really consistent as of late as well. And now we're going to some places where I think Denny Hamlin is definitely, I won't call him a lock to make the round of 8, but I think he's definitely there with places like Kansas, New Hampshire, coming up in that round of 12. If he can, just not kill himself at the Roval, I think he'll be good. And then he sets up pretty well for Vegas and Martinsville. So excited to see what that shakes out. And can we lift the curse? Can we do it? Is this the year with the lawsuit and everything? Jim France having to hold the trophy and hand it to him. Wouldn't that be a little sweet comeuppance for our guy in the number 11 car?
That would be a heck of a dynamic, and honestly might have to throw a sprinkle on a Hamlin title ticket. If I haven't already, I'll have to go back and look. That'd be a fun one to watch for sure. In terms of some trends that we've seen there, the top seed has produced 4 champions in this format. Larson, Truex and Kyle Busch did it twice for both of his. The deepest seed to win a title was 2023. Ryan Blaney entered the playoffs as the 12th seed.
Yep.
Won the championship. So that still opens up hope for Logano. Sorry to Barry Reddick, Dillon, and Bowman. You won't be winning the championship this year based on that trend.
Right now, who wins the championship? One pick, one word.
Ryan Blaney.
Ryan Blaney.
Ryan Blaney. I think that Penske, they're going to relish that they have one more shot at Phoenix. They've won the last 3. It's Penske until I'm told otherwise. It doesn't matter whether it's been Trackhouse or 2311 or Hendrick or anybody else that's come against them in the next gen. Penske have been your champion. We're not closing that Penske file just yet. One more year at Phoenix, one more year for Penske.
I'd say Bell, and if not Bell, Logano. Let's give it again. I don't care what kind of year it is, even or odd. I like him.
It very well could be Joey. I did put a sprinkle on a 20-1 title ticket just because it wouldn't surprise me at all. But it is an odd-numbered year. Logano, in every even-numbered year since this format has come out, has made the championship 4. In every odd-numbered year, he has never made the championship 4. So for Logano, I'm fully expecting
Get out of here.
Maybe even a round of 16 elimination. I mean, he had to come back up from elimination to even make a round of 8. So it's not going to happen again.
Undertaker gift for sure. Yeah.
A little Undertaker gift, definitely. Let's start to look ahead to the weekend at Darlington and the Horizon forecast.
Hey, Michael, it was only 20% chance of rain. I think we got all 20.
So as I mentioned, the Cup and the Truck Series at Darlington this weekend. Cup Series, your 30 charters, 6 lawsuit cars, Derek Kraus in the 44, Timmy Hill in the 66. I feel like we haven't seen him in a lot of Cup races this year. Truck Series has 32 races at the 32 cars entered at the Lady in Black. 32 races at Darlington would be a lot. Corey Days in the Spire number 7. Trevor Bayne back to the Cup Series or to the Truck Series. Jesus. In the number 1 for Tricon. Victory Junction Gang going to sponsor that truck effort for Trevor Bayne, the 2011 Daytona 500 champ. Xfinity out in the Pacific Northwest at Portland, like I said. 37 cars entered there. Will Brown and Jack Perkins coming back over from Australia to drive the number 11 and the number 19, respectively. Joey Hand will drive the RSS Racing number 28, making his Xfinity debut in place of Kyle Sieg, who moves over to the 53. Some road course ringers, Alex LeBay, Austin Green, Thomas Annunziata among those entered as well. Josh Williams in the 91 for DGM / Jesse Uji Motorsports. Weekend schedule starts up tomorrow. In terms of NASCAR sanctioned events, the only thing we've got, truck practice and qualifying at 3 o'clock. If you're in the mood for some Friday night racing, though, both on Flow Racing, the Portland ARCA West race is at 7 Eastern. William Sawalich, Christian Eckes, and Greg Biffle among your entries in that race. And the Cars Tours at Florence Motor Speedway in South Carolina. Dale Earnhardt Jr. entered there as well. So a fun little night of extra racing if you want on your Friday. Before a big day Saturday, Cup practice and qualifying 9 a.m. on True TV and Max. Noon is your truck race on FS1. The Sober or Slammer 200. Maybe my favorite race name of the year. Stage length's 45-45.
It's not freaking Cookout, so that's a plus.
It isn't Cookout, but you might go to Cookout, but make sure you are sober. Or you do so. Xfinity practice and qualifying from Portland then starts off at 3 o'clock on the CW app. And then 7:30, the Xfinity race on CW. The Pacific Office Automation 147. Your stage lengths are all 25 laps out there in Portland. We know how stages on road courses go. It'll be interesting to watch. One of those where you're not going to have an SVG. You're not going to have Cup guys littering the field, which makes me really excited for that race. And also really excited for one of the crown jewels of NASCAR, the Cookout Southern 500, 6 o'clock on USA, 115, 137 for that race. And I love the crown jewels. I love the 500-mile races. I love a great race. The Cookout Southern 500, the Southern 500 coming back to its roots, night race. Just everything about this Sunday night before Monday off. It's one of my most underrated favorite races of the year.
Oh, dude. I mean, there's nothing like it, right? It really feels like the end of summer. It feels like, okay, here we go into fall. NFL week 1 coming at you. So excited. What a night we're going to have, man. Not only do we get this, we also get a top 10 matchup in Notre Dame and Miami happening at the same time. So great weekend of sports here. And this is really the headliner for me here, the Cookout Southern 500. And I put in the Discord earlier today, man, but who's ever running Cookout's marketing right now, they dropped the bag this year at NASCAR. Not only do they have the Cookout Clash, they also have the Cookout Southern 500. And not one, but 2 different Cookout 400s. I mean, I was stunned like last year or last week when I was putting some content up on the site. It was like it was saying we already used that title before. And I was like, wait. I was like, there was a Cookout 400. Yeah, it was at Martin's. So it's just crazy. I just can't believe it. We've been giving them so much airtime. And next time we go south for a race, we have to stop at Cookout now and do a little review just because, we've talked about them so much on the program this year.
Worth every mile driven and worth every penny there for their marketing budget. Not even counting Max Reeves, who's in the Cookout family, running some ARCA races with Joe Gibbs in the 18. So hopefully they have a better paint scheme. And they got to differentiate a little bit. Like if it's going to be at Martinsville, let's make it the Cookout Paperclip 400.
Thank you. Yeah.
There's a little bit of differentiation.
Yeah. Play it on one of their meal names or something. Like you can, you don't have to.
The huge T400 at Martinsville Speedway.
There you go. It's better. That's better.
All
right. Keep us.
Yeah. All right. Real quickly, speaking of differences, Xfinity Series not using the live pit stops at Portland. What you'll see, the field frozen at the time of caution. All yellows are quickie yellows. You may only add fuel during stage breaks. You may change tires at any time. Stage breaks will consist of a 3-minute break. Your 3 minutes will start after all vehicles have stopped on pit road. No crew members are allowed on pit road until all cars are stopped. You cannot change tires and fuels at the same time. You must do the tires first and then the fuel. If you change a tire on a green flag pit stop, you cannot complete the stop faster than the minimum time allotted from yellow line to yellow line, 63 seconds. If your tires are clearly flat entering pit road, they may be changed without being subject to minimum time. We see this in the truck series a lot, but not often in Xfinity. So something to remember when you're thinking of your bets and watching this race, there will not be the live pit stops, and that will be the procedure that will be followed.
Is this the same race that last year we saw on a Jesse Loves guys like jump on the hood to like get it down?
That's familiar. Yeah, that might have been here. It's either here or Glenn, I think.
I feel like it was because he wasn't like a full-time guy or something, and they sent him out to Portland for that race or something. But yeah, I always find this funny. It kind of reminds me of going down my local short track, and you don't have live pit stops, and they pause everything. They come out with the gas cans and the toolboxes.
Yeah, and that's exactly what's going to happen. You don't want to send those pit crews out there, and you really can't with the truck race the same day. As we look ahead to Darlington, or basically be a replay of Lime Rock, more passing throughout the field while Zilla trends away out front. Our bets kind of reflect that, as we'll get to here shortly. Quickly, the preview that we've got here: 1.366 mile high tire wear skill intermediate track. Homestead the primary because you're ripping the fence at both places. Dover potential secondary, but we did not use that in the model this week, Seth.
No. I mean, there's this debate on the internet whether Dover is a comp or not. I don't feel that it is. I think Dover is very much its own thing. I think Dover has other closer comps if you want to give it that. Like I would put Homestead and Dover closer, but
Nashville,
Dover. Yeah, Nashville, because you got the concrete there too. But yeah, it's really Homestead and Darlington for me if you want to be pulling out comps, especially with the tire wear. We don't usually see that same tire wear at Dover, except if it's like 50 degrees on a Saturday morning when they're qualifying, like we saw there in 2024.
Yeah, man, that was kind of cold at Dover there, but not expecting that cool weather at Darlington as we move on to some of the trends that we've got here. In terms of qualifying, Denny Hamlin, he basically leads all the trends for this place. Darlington has really been his playground, his home away from home, outside of his other Virginia home tracks that he's got. Best average starting position, 8.7 in 26 races. You have Larson and Byron both under 10 as well, and there starts Blaney and Logano rounding out the top 5. Next-gen active pole winners, William Byron, Bubba Wallace, Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell, and Joey Logano has done it twice. As we get into the race, active winners in the next-gen, Denny Hamlin, of course, won in the spring. Brad Keselowski, Erik Jones, Chase Briscoe, Kyle Larson, William Byron, Joey Logano, all bringing home next-gen wins here. And you really have to qualify well here. And this is unlike any other tracks, especially recently. Maybe not unlike any, but it's definitely big here. 7 of the last 9 Darlington winners, mostly next-gen races, have started in the top 4. The last 3 winners started P3, P3, and P2.
Wow.
However, you don't necessarily want to win that pole. It hasn't been as strong in the next-gen. Logano won from the pole in 2022, but since then, your pole winner finishes at Darlington. P4, P31, P23, P32, P16, and P2. The only other pole winner that we've had from Darlington in the 21st century was Kevin Harvick in 2014. So you almost want to hit a sweet spot of you probably don't want to start first because of this weird curse or whatever, but if you can start second, third, or fourth, you're in real good shape.
It's like lifting the curse, man. You got to lift the curse and That's crazy. That is a trend I think will get broken here sooner than later. But qualifying absolutely does matter, and it's why I think you have to get invested on some of this pre-flop. But there might be a favor or two that you're looking to bet outright that I think you can just let's hit the pause button here. Let's see how Friday shakes out. See if any of those early games shake out on Saturday, and get back invested then potentially before Sunday morning.
Yeah, no doubt. Historically here, though, the Polestar does win most often, 16.4% of the time. Front row, just over 31%. Top 5, 60% of the races. Top 10, 83.5%. In terms of starting outside the top 20, it's not somewhere you want to be either. Out of 128 Darlington races in its history, only winners have come 6 times outside of the top 20. So
wow.
You want to qualify toward the front, maybe not the pole, but you want to be up there. In terms of the playoff drivers, among the playoff drivers to win here, Danny Hamlin's done it 5 times. Again, he's the man here. Logano, Briscoe, Byron, and Larson have each done it once. Hamlin has the best average finish and the second best all time here, best among active drivers, 7.9. The only driver who's averaged a top 12 finish here over his career. Keselowski, Larson, Busch, Logano in the top 5.
Brad.
Rick Jones and Austin Dillon also in the top 10 in terms of active driver career average finish here. And in terms of what winning the opening race of the playoffs can do for your championship bid, the champion has won the opening race of the playoff / chase era 4 times. Of course, it has taken place at New Hampshire, Chicago, Vegas, Darlington, and Atlanta. The winners won the title 5 times. Kurt Busch in 2004 at New Hampshire. Tony Stewart and Brad Keselowski did it at Chicagoland. Martin Truex Jr. did it at Vegas. And Joey Logano, of course, did it last year at Atlanta, but it's never happened at Darlington. So naturally, you want to win that first race, but it hasn't happened in any of the times it's gone at Darlington. The winner has not gone on to win the title.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting. I always love the playoff era trends and seeing, who wins what races. And sometimes it's very interesting, especially here at Darlington, where we've seen some upset winners over the years. But Elliot, let's go ahead and get into the bets. But first, I want to tell everyone about our iFantasyRace.com Asterisk Mark driver of the week. It is Josh Berry this week. And in the spring, Josh Berry was a top 10 contender, believe it or not, but he finished with an Asterisk Mark 36th place finish in the race. Berry started 24th, finished around the mid-teens there in stage 1, not too impressive, but finished P5 in stage 2, and then he was running 5th on lap 194. Then he had some contact with Tyler Reddick. He crashed in terms of total speed ranking, so he was 10th. So Josh Berry, a guy who popped a little bit in our metrics this week, and I think the projection would tell you that as well. P13 coming in this week. So Josh Berry, a name to know, and someone who's going to have a big race if he wants to continue to get himself positioned above that cut line.
No doubt about it. Berry, a guy who I was really back and forth on. I saw his stats where he ran well, has run well pretty much all his Cup Darlington races, but has ended up with these Asterisk Mark running into trouble type finishes. Mm-hmm. And it depends this week. Are we going to see Berry run up front, have some speed, and then run into a lot of pressure and end up in the wall again? Or is he a guy that can maybe pull off that finish? I did end up putting a sprinkle on his top 10 line. Not one of my featured bets, though. Let's get to those right now in this week's Parking Garage Props. I'll be honest, in terms of the books this week, I was really expecting things to be a little juicier, but I just think that not only the variance that we've seen at Darlington with some unexpected winners of late and a lot of those Asterisk Mark type races, but the fact that this year there has not been a super dominant driver in any track type or in any part of the season, it gave the odds a little more depth than I thought they would.
Yeah, there's definitely depth. Like, I don't like how short, come on, you can't have 5 drivers under 8-1. Like that's just doesn't equal any EV anywhere for me, man. And it's there's too much rate going on up at the top there. Come on, we can't have. I mean, just looking at it right now, Kyle Larson 6-1, Ryan Blaney 6.5-1, Denny Hamlin 6.5-1, William Byron 6.5-1. Something has to give, right? Something has to give. So yeah, like for me, it's one of those weeks where at least in the outright market, I have one play, and then I'm just going to be kind of sitting back and watching. And maybe if the chat can talk me into a little bit of a long shot, I might take one tonight. But other than that, I think if you want one of these favorites, for me, it's just I'm going to sit back, I'm going to watch and enjoy the action on Saturday.
Not a bad idea. Didn't stop me from throwing down on some of those shorter outrights, because they've been good here and they've been good lately. I'll start off with Ryan Blaney. I took the Blaney at 6-1 over on Bet365. He's been the fastest man in the garage lately. We talked about it earlier, and he's been among the fastest at Darlington too. Best average finish in the last 6 Cup races for Blaney at 4.8. And at this track type, super duper good too, not just in the finishes. In fact, primarily not really in the finishes, but in the total speed ranking from our friends at iFantasyRace.com. Top 2 in the total speed ranking at this track type in the last 3 races. Tops overall in the last 2 years among the Cup Series. The teams kept their speed from early in the year, but they've largely eliminated those gremlins. You're not seeing Blaney run up front and then blow a motor, Blaney run up front and get into trouble. You're seeing Blaney run up front and win races, Blaney run up front and end up with good finishes. We know Penske's sneaky. We're going to talk more Penske here as soon as I'm done with this Blaney bet. We're going to talk Penske throughout the evening. They are setting themselves up again for another title run. Blaney far and away the favorite in my mind.
Yeah, I can understand it. I can understand why you would be high on Ryan Blaney. However, I also think he has a little bit of warts, just like hasn't had the best finishes here. You know, he's had the speed, right? Like third in the next gen total speed rankings, but just not great in the finishes. Love what he did at Darlington earlier this season. However, you know, going back to 2024, Darlington's not the best at it. Homestead, he looked fine though. So there's just like some warts on Ryan Blaney's resume that doesn't make him, in my opinion, the favorite. That would be Denny Hamlin to me, but I understand the bet nonetheless.
Yeah, with Blaney too, you do have one of those as a big time asterisk mark. Martin Truex Jr. Took out the number 12. I think that was the fall race last year, where Truex just missed.
Yeah.
Well, I forget if that was last year or 2 years ago, but either way, big time asterisk mark for Blaney there in terms of the fall Darlington race.
Yeah, I think that was. Yep, it was last fall. Yep, he finished. Yep, he was last in average running position. So that would make sense, I guess, why he would be coming 12th in the projections then. So I guess give him back that, and yeah, maybe I should be a little higher on him. Good call out there.
Yeah, and hey, there were plenty of asterisk marks you could have used. I figured Barry was a good driver to talk about, knowing I was probably going to bet on Ryan Blaney. The Penske love doesn't end there. I'll let you sneak in your outright pick of the week. We were talking about him earlier, and no surprise you're going with him here.
I got a feeling, that Joey Logano is going to show up once again with a quote-unquote surprise win in the postseason. Look, man, this is more of a numbers play considering he's 8th in our projections, and everyone around that is like 10-1 or shorter. You know, I thought about Chase Briscoe. I like Briscoe's number. I've seen him around 14-1. I didn't hate that. But, dude, to me, this just sets up for a Joey Logano playoff dunk. And number 5 in Darlington next-gen average finishes, 11.0. Not super high-end finishes. Like, he doesn't have a bunch of top 5s, but no finish lower than 21st in those 7 races. Top 6 in the total speed rankings in that span as well. And while he has finished 13 at this very racetrack earlier this season, he was 5th in average running position on the day, 8.7, ran 83.7% of the laps inside the top 15, the 15th or the 5th most on the day. So the only thing going against him really, Elliot, in my mind, is that he wasn't great at Homestead. He wasn't great at our one direct comp. But in a race that's going to be long like this, that we're going 500, in a race that might come down to strategy and fuel mileage, I want no man in my corner more at a 17-1 price tag than our guy Paul Wolfe, baby. Getting a little Joey Logano, Paul Wolfe action, 17-1, 0.6 of a unit for the kid.
Yeah, we know that 22 can save fuel like nobody's business, and he comes on hot in the playoffs. I'm just going to take it's an odd year, and I don't know if Logano's going to have it. But
boo.
Good stats at Darlington. I'm not totally ruling it out, and I do like it as a numbers play too. I definitely have a few of those that, like you said, it matches up. The particular guys who have similar stats, all closer to 10-1, getting a 17-1 at that particular price there is pretty good. I got suckered. I don't know about suckered because I like the Tyler Reddick bet as well. But you're saying, oh, be careful. These guys, 6-1, 7-1, 8-1. No one's rips the fence. No one rips the fence better than Tyler Reddick. And you do have those runs.
True.
2011, Tony Stewart, 1 win, if no wins, either none or one in the whole regular season. 2011 comes out, wins 5 out of the 10 playoff races, and wins the championship.
True.
On the tiebreaker wins over poor Carl Edwards, losing out at Homestead there. But really for Reddick, it's this weekend. I'm looking basically solely at this race to tell me if he's a contender or a pretender. It's one thing if 2311 just totally misses something. But if I'm expecting Reddick to run well because his trends have told me so, the stats have told me so, his racing style tells me so. And if it doesn't happen, then this 45, you can honestly write him off. But like I said, no one better than ripping the fence. We saw him make that unbelievable move at Homestead last year to go to the championship for. And he's run well in the Southern 500 also. Only one driver has finished top 10 in all 3 of the next-gen Southern 500s. It's that 45 of Tyler Reddick.
Mm.
In the next gen overall here, 4 top 4 finishes, a P10 last year here when he was going through some stomach problems. We didn't know if he could quite make it. And then 2 incidents here, 2 asterisk marks, including a crash with Chris Buescher battling for the win in that spring 2024 race where at worst he's finishing 3rd if he doesn't send it and knock out him in the 17 and give Keselowski his only win as an owner driver thus far. In terms of track type, 4th best next gen average finish, top 3 in the total speed ranking. That's both on the track type and at this track in the next gen era as well. And like I said, it's contender or pretender for Reddick this week. Finishes of late have been lackluster. Just 1 top 10 in the last 6 races. There have been so many moments this year where you've been waiting for Reddick to come on. We were waiting for that speed. Guys can turn it on in the playoffs. We know that wins mean everything. Doesn't matter if he lays out a couple of clunkers the next 2 weeks if he can get this win at the Southern 500. At 8-1, I'm going to, like I said, it's a 1-week deal. I'm throwing my faith in Reddick. If it doesn't happen, I'm probably off him the rest of the year.
Look, the analysis is spot on, man. Honestly, I think Tyler Reddick is a guy I've overlooked, and I think a little bit goes into that, kind of the asterisk mark that he has around him, just based on that Chris Buescher wreck last spring, right? So I think you're onto something here. Actually, like looking back at my card, I'm like, man, maybe I could have had Reddick in one of these top 10 parlays I'll throw out here in a little bit, but it's just a number for me. I can't pay 8-1 for a guy who, like you said, won top 10 in the last 6 races and has not won this season. I need him at a 12, and I would be interested.
Yeah, and I don't blame you. His placement prop numbers could be good too. If you like him for a top 10, like you said, being able to parlay there, or even the top 5. And we've got a lot of top 10s on their own and in parlays. But I've got a top 5 first, and it's Ross Chastain in that absolutely gorgeous Busch Light black stallion throwback there. I feel the same about Ross as I do about Reddick. This is going to be a week where we're going to know how his playoffs are going to go based on how he looks this weekend. Busch Light fishing can there. I got the lime underneath the Briscoe koozie there. We're Busch Light.
Farm can.
I said fishing can. My fault. There was not a fish on there? Turn that a little bit. There's not a fish?
No, there's no fish on
there.
there.
That's a bird. I saw a bird from afar.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right.
You have fishing cans, all right. So, but anyway, black stallion there for Chastain. Pretty solid in the last couple of Darlington races. 2 P5s, a P7, and a P11 in the last 4 races here. Top average finish in the series at Darlington among those last 4 races. Spring 2023, particularly good race here. Top total speed ranking in that race before crashing out. We know that he's a guy who needs momentum too. Since his win at the Coke 600, no top 5s, 2 top 10s, 4 races at P26 or worse for Chastain. Again, there's a lot of guys in these playoffs that we need to see them really turn it back on. We know that the talent is there. We know the cars can be there. It's just a matter of can they get it done. What have you done for me lately for Ross Chastain? He's going to have to do some stuff lately, but I've got faith in this guy. He can turn it on. He's at a good track. That 45 in the 1, couple of sneaky guys running up front is what I'm expecting.
Yeah. Like Ross Chastain, he's another guy that just has a couple of warts, right? Like really bad run at Homestead earlier this year, like just out to lunch. But he was actually out to lunch last year at Homestead too. So I think that's part of it.
It's just one of those weird things almost where even if 2 tracks are extra comparable, you can be awful at one and really good at with certain drivers that other pairings.
Yeah. I mean, he comes right in around 11th in the next gen average finishes here at Darlington. Like, I'm okay with a play on Ross Chastain, but I think it's closer to a top 10 for me because he is down the projections a little bit this week for me. So I'm kind of good on Ross Chastain, but I understand the play nonetheless.
I feel like those bad Homestead runs can weigh him down a little bit. We used Homestead as a heavy.
Yeah, they definitely did.
Having Homestead, Darlington, and what have you done for me lately? Normally, I'm the what have you done for me lately guy, and I've picked probably the 2 playoff drivers that have run the worst over the summer stretch for really good bets here at Darlington. I just think that in the playoffs, you see guys flip switches, and starting at Darlington, with the speed these 2 cars can have, that's who I'm throwing my faith in this week. And hey, I didn't have room for him in the top 10 because we both got a lot of other top 10s on the card this week. I like the top 5 number a little better.
Okay, well, I'll throw out a couple top 10s here then quickly. First one, Ryan Preece top 10. We're back in, baby, plus 270 at FanDuel. I'm going 0.7 of a unit. Wild to see this back at plus 270. Like maybe the books think RFK, they're just out to lunch, they're throwing in the towel. It is what it is. But I think like they're even more fired up after missing the playoffs entirely as a team, despite having a ton of speed this year. I think they're going to go trophy hunting. And look, his Darlington stats, they're not going to jump off the page to you, but he has been getting close to top 10 performances, P12, P17, P15 in the next gen era. and those runs were with SHR as well. Keep that in mind. And here's the thing as well. Preece had a 10.6 average running position, 7th best after starting on the front row in Darlington in the spring. The dude also has a P9 at our comp track of Homestead earlier this year and P10 last year there as well. I'm slowly starting to talk myself into the 50-1 outright as well, because wouldn't it just be fitting for Ryan Preece to go out and get his first win after a week of missing out on the playoffs?
Yeah, man, outright would be a bold call there, but I don't hate it for a top 10. I just feel like I don't think the 60 team is going to be one of those teams. So I agree with the top 10 play, but you're definitely going to see a lot of those teams that were kind of fighting maybe around the cut line, maybe guys you thought could go on runs. We could see that early vacation mode turn on pretty quickly for a couple of these teams. And I worry that's what we could see with the 60. It's been a long year. It's a new team.
Could be.
They miss out in arguably more heartbreaking fashion than any of the others that weren't on that front row with Blaney. Did everything right, leading that race at the very end. Just had the situation of 2 non-teammates, non-manufacturer guys behind them who had a teammate that could not have a new winner to get in the playoffs. There was nothing the 5 or the 9 could do. They could not let that 60 car win the race. So Ryan Preece did everything right. It's just one of those situations that kind of messes with you. But for the 60 team, though, I do have faith they can continue to have good runs. Top 10 here, maybe one of the last times I'd consider betting Preece on the year, but at a plus 270, I don't hate it.
Give us a couple more rapid-fire top 10s you have for us here, Elliot.
Yeah, I've got plenty. Very rarely you see me bet the juice numbers, especially for a top 10. I like Bubba Wallace this week at a minus 120 over on FanDuel. 4 straight top 10s for Bubba here before last fall, and he won the pole for that race. The pressure of that being the last regular season race, the winning in, the strategy that kind of affected things last fall. He ended up finishing 16th, but still some pretty good runs at Darlington, and he's a guy pretty hot too. He didn't fall off after they got that win at Indianapolis. Last 5 races before being involved in that crash at Daytona. P7, the P1 at Indy, P6, P8, and then he only led 123 laps at Richmond before having that tire issue. Bubba Wallace, pretty hot coming into the playoffs. One of those guys that definitely can make a little sneaky late run, and you have a lot of faith in him in the round of 16. And a guy that we've seen here too, it's not always just these playoff guys that are going to win races. You're going to have some of these guys like a Preece or like an Erik Jones come in and take W's here. You can't ever ignore that Jones boy at the Lady in Black. You just can't do it. Plus 350 for a top 10 at Caesars. Had that big upset win in 2022 and another next-gen top 10 to add to an impeccable record when he was in the JGR equipment. 6 for 6 at finishing in the top 8 and won that late night 2019 Southern 500 for his second Cup win, I believe it was. And honestly, Legacy's current form and the way they're running is the closest thing he's had to a good car since those JGR days for Erik Jones here at Darlington. He ran like 17th in the spring, wasn't particularly great, but that wasn't the best time, though, for Legacy as well. He's cooled a bit since a pretty hot summer stretch. They were top 13 in 6 of 8 races there in the midsummer, but he's had a couple of decent runs. P5 at Daytona, they were going for that winning in too. 16th at Iowa, 12th at Watkins Glen. When you look at it for Legacy, a team where they are in the pecking order, those are pretty decent runs. It's Jones' best track. He's got maybe the best car he's had here since he's been with Joe Gibbs Racing. I feel good about that Jones boy this weekend at 43.
Yeah. Since he's been with Legacy, he has not had this fast of a car at all. And, he is a guy who comes in right around the top 15 in the next gen total speed rankings at Darlington. So if not now, win for Erik Jones, right? So I actually do like that plus 350 play quite a bit for me. Again, would have liked to see a little bit more at Homestead earlier this season, but the equipment just was not on the level that it is now. Even at Darlington earlier this year, where he was at least respectable, the equipment just wasn't there. So I'm cool with that. I think you have one more long shot top 10 for us as well.
Yeah, I'll roll with it because it's not as ridiculous as the one that you have, but I think mine's a little more realistic, but it's the number that I'm playing. It's less the driver. I think FanDuel forgot that Austin Dillon qualified for the playoffs. They forgot that he's had decent runs here in the past. They forgot that he just won 2 weeks ago. They have him at 12-1 for a top 10. Most other books, plus 350 to plus 500, somewhere in there. I'm not touching it at that number, but at a 12-1, I feel really good about it. Like I said, some strong runs here. 2 top 5s and 5 top 10s. I understand those were all before the next gen era, but man, he's had some solid runs here. He knows how to get around the track. Had a P2, I think, in 2020 when he had a sneaky run into the playoffs there with the Texas win. 4 top 15s in the last 6 races. Kind of a similar, you got to grade it on a curve like Legacy. That's not bad for how the 3 team has run most of the year. Mid-20s in the points before that win. Homestead, not too terrible. Ran 13th in the spring. 2 next-gen top 10s there. So even though with some guys you can break that apart and differentiate that, but they are comp tracks enough, you can take a little bit of something from it. And I think that at a 12-1, it was too good of a number on a playoff driver for a top 10 on a guy who's not completely out to lunch and is feeling really good about how his 3 team's going to run into the playoffs.
John says no. He says no way Austin Dillon gets top 10.
Just wait for the next one, John. Just wait for the next one.
All right. So let me raise you your Austin Dillon 12-1 to a Cole Custer top 10, 27-1 at FanDuel. I'm going 0.3 of a unit. So just a sprinkle here. Yeah. And look, it's the same type of situation. This is a pricing enforcement play. You're going to hear that term likely if you have any fantasy football drafts going on. And I'm doing the same thing here when it comes to NASCAR betting, because we poured one out last week for the Cole Custer 300-1 championship ticket. But sitting at 27-1 for a top 10 is absolutely ridiculous. And I'm back in, baby. I'm back in on Colonel Custer here. And look, he should not be 27-1. Riley Herbst is 17-1. Josh Bilicki, which also, I know a little clarification quickly. It is Josh Bilicki, not Timmy Hill, right? In that 66, or did that change?
So they've definitely flipped it around. It was originally announced as Bilicki, I think. And then Bilicki retweeted to somebody and said, no, I'm not in the car. Somebody asked, who's in the car? Oh, I think Carl Long's going to drive the car. Carl Long's not going to drive the car. Obviously, he was joking. It was one of those funding deals where.
Okay, gotcha.
They were looking to put Timmy Hill in that car. They couldn't find some sponsorship. They found like some action figure company to throw a little bit of money at it. So Timmy Hill have a good time. You know, hey, Texas iRacing 2020 champion in that 66. But if he can be within 15 laps of the leader on Sunday night, I'll be surprised.
Yeah, and so Josh Bilicki is not even racing as 27-1, right? That's what we're looking at with Cole Custer here, and this is also all the way down at 10-1 to Caesar. So that tells me there might be some positive expected value here with Haas Factory Team, and I can't tell you a single positive thing that you can take away from Cole Custer's spring run at Darlington, his spring run at Homestead. However, average next gen Darlington finish 20.7. Right in that same range as guys like Kyle Larson, our boy McNasty. Also, he has 6 top 5 finishes in 7 Xfinity Series starts here, including a win. Vibes are high after a top 10 run at Daytona. Let's see if we can keep this momentum going and cash a 27-1 gainer on this number 41 car.
I can't be mad at it, but it's just so ridiculous, especially getting into the playoffs.
This is a race that could have strategy, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I just don't think. I'd rather take odds on Cole Custer being 1 or plus more laps down after the stage 1.
Sure, but you can't bet that. So you got to get.
Yeah, but it's one of those where it doesn't matter if it's 127-1. It's not happening.
All right,
with Custer though, I understand vibes are high. He put himself in the right spot at Daytona. Maybe at Talladega, I'll think about betting at Cole Custer top 10 again. But he ended up with a top 5 at Daytona. When was Cole Custer's most recent top 5 before last week in the Cup Series? His 2020 Kentucky win. He did not have a top 5 from then until.
I'm betting for him top 5, betting for him top 10.
It's true, but this is one of those where it doesn't matter what the odds are. It's not going to happen. You got a lot of parlays coming up. We got to get to them, but we got a couple of matchups first, including probably my favorite Cup bet of the week, Austin Cindric over Alex Bowman at plus 110 at Caesars. And it's one of those deals where when I bet on Alex Bowman, you're like, okay, he's a Bowman fan. He sees the best in the 48 team. Maybe I should be wary. That's exactly what happened at Daytona. But when I bet against Alex Bowman, I'm also looking closely at the bad, and it's probably something you should keep an eye on. And Darlington is one of the 48's worst tracks, one of Bowman's worst tracks since he's moved to the 48. It's not even that there's anything super strong about Cindric. P13, P11 in the last 2 races here. No Homestead top 10s either. But for Bowman, just 2 lead lap finishes in his last 8 Darlington starts. He's got the momentum lately. He's occasionally pulled out that top 10 run, that decent run in this race when they're in the playoffs. A tough first round, though, could absolutely go really poorly for them, or at least worse than Cindric. I think this is going to be a really good battle for 14th place all night, and I think it's going to be Cindric ahead of the 48.
For the matchup department, give me Ty Gibbs minus 120 at Caesars against Carson Hocevar. I'm going 2 units on it. Not a ton of action for me in the head-to-head market this weekend, but I really do like Ty Gibbs, who's coming 15th in the projections against Carson Hocevar as 29th. And Gibbs has been pretty decent at the track, too tough to tame. 8th in the next-gen average finishes, 13.8, 16th in the total speed rankings in that span as well. Also 8th in average run position here earlier this year, 4th in the last year's spring race, 8th again in that fall race. Hocevar, on the other hand, he's been, for whatever reason, trash here in Cup. I think he might just drive it a bit too aggressively and always ends up spinning. 33rd in the next gen average finishes, 27.0, 32nd in the total speed rankings. Therefore, Ty is 3-1 against him at this track. He's had a good start here. Carson Hocevar has P13 in the spring, but just couldn't manage his stuff after that. So I'm going to go ahead and put my trust in Tyrone Gibbs to get it done this week. And it's more about the fade of Carson Hocevar. I would have almost faded him a little bit with anyone this week, and Ty Gibbs was just the lucky guy matched up against him.
Yeah, I don't hate this at all. These are two of those guys that are probably the biggest risk of hitting that early vacation mode, but also two of those guys that say, F it, we're going to go for it. We're going to go for wins. We're going to want to mess up their party. They'll be fun to watch over the playoffs.
Yeah, and to round us out here, I have a special fall flannel parlay of the week, plus 190 at ESPN Bet. 4 units down. This is the gainer for me. And, of course, you can see the Busch Light guy cracking a Frosty Boy there on the screen if you're joining us here on YouTube. And, look, what I like to do when we get to this point is take a really obvious Cup Series placement prop and parlay that with some college football money lines. Usually, I'm coming in here with something closer to even money, maybe even minus money still. It's a 2-legger. I'm going 4 legs this week. Give me the Alabama money line, minus 700 against Florida State. Give me the Iowa State money line, coming off an absolute gainer out there at Farmageddon overseas. They're going to be playing an FCS team. Alabama's playing Florida State, who was one of the worst teams straight up and ATS last season. And then give me Notre Dame on the money line, minus 140 against Miami. And that's just one I feel super confident in the Irish coming off a really, really standout season, even despite being banged up last year. And then the Cup Series top 10 to parlay this with, minus 300, Denny Hamlin top 10. Parlayed together, we're getting plus 190. And for me, when it comes to Denny Hamlin, number 1 in the projections, 3rd in the Darlington Next Gen average finishes, 10.3, and as well 3rd in the total speed rankings during that span. Had a top 5 car, came from behind to win in the spring. William Byron was definitely the dominant car that day, but he made it happen. He knows how to manage his stuff. Top 5 car at Homestead the last 2 times we've been in Miami as well. 2nd in the total speed rankings at conventional tracks to date. So giddy up on Denny Hamlin, top 10 gainer in the fall flannel parlay of the week, baby. Plus 190 at ESPN Bet.
Love being able to get those fall flannels out. Got to get one of those flannel Busch Light koozies too. More parlays coming up for you on the Xfinity and truck side, but I'll get my placement props out of the way on the Xfinity side. Give me William Sawalich for a top 5 plus 650 over on Bet365. He's a guy who's been underrated this year on road courses. P9 at Coda, P6 at Mexico. Had some electrical issues knocking back at Chicago. Ran 3rd at Sonoma a couple months ago and had a 9th place average running position at Watkins Glen before crashing out of that one. He's running the ARCA race Friday for some extra seat time. And one of those where it's the same with this next guy, not having any of those Cup drivers in the field and probably not having any craziness going on up front, with Zilich probably in an entirely different zip code than the rest of the field. He's a guy that can run top 5. And this one right here, top 3 biggest unit share bet of the season for me. 40% of my unit share for the week is on the Austin Green top 10, plus 175 on ESPN Bet. I don't care that it's not 5-1. I don't care that it's not 4-1. I don't care that it's not 3-1 anymore. Plus 175 is plenty good enough for me, because for Austin Green on the road courses, he's been the top tier this year. And it's not just to the point now where it's just, this guy's in a decent, mediocre car having a good run. Sure. He is the 5th best average finish on road courses in the Xfinity Series on road courses this year at 12th. 5th best in the series, a guy who basically only runs the road courses. DNQ'd for a couple ovals even this year. Won an ARCA race at Charlotte, missed the Charlotte Xfinity race in Talladega. But on the road courses, this guy is second to none. And it's still wild. It's almost wild to me that it's still plus money, because it's almost a slam dunk. This year, Coda, he had trouble, finished in the mid-20s. Since then, P7, P9, P11, P7. And there's no Cup drivers even to stink this one up either for him. In 4 of those races that he's finished top 11, hitting this top 10 3 separate times, he's had at least 1 Cup driver ahead of him in 3 of them. Suarez winning in Mexico City, SVG, and the others, and some other guys running around there too. We know Zilich is going to win. We know Mayer's probably going to be up front. We know Sawalich, hopefully top 5. From my card, Austin Green top 10, absolute slam dunk. All that 32 car needs to do is just have all 8 cylinders in it, everything working for him, and not get turned by some moron in the last 10 laps. And this is an absolute slam dunk bet.
Hey, I love it, man. I was going to come with you, but I know as soon as I do, I'll jinx you. So I left this one for you, but I like it. For me in the Xfinity Series, though, give me the stick to the game plan parlay minus 103 at Caesars. I'm down 2.5 units. This is a skinny parlay here. We're putting the Alabama money line minus 550 against Florida State. Again, going back to that, I love Alabama this week, ATS. Whether you take that minus 13.5 number, maybe you tease that down a little bit. So I love them on the money line here. As long as Alabama, Kalen DeBoer, Ty Simpson and company stick to the game plan, they'll be fine. They'll beat Florida State. And as long as Connor Zilic as well sticks to the game plan, doesn't have anything crazy happen, his arm stays in place, minus 150 on that leg. This is going to give me parlay odds of minus 103 over at Caesars. So feels a little bit more digestible to bet that Zilic outright at this price. And he's like the only guy I feel like I trust right now in the Xfinity Series to bet, because I think he'll be out in front of Austin Hill's mishaps, and they're coming. They're coming. Don't you worry. This guy's going to get frustrated. The playoffs are starting. He's not where he wants. He's going to throw a temper tantrum. Hopefully he doesn't take out Austin Green and some of Elliot's bets. But to me, for Zilic, 3 road course wins in 5 tries this year. Dumped in Mexico City early on. Was right there in Chicago with SVG. So, yeah, give me a little Zilic on the outright parlay with a little Bama money line, baby, against FSU.
Yeah, man, any way to make that outright more digestible, because it's all but certain to happen unless somehow he shifts to get a drink and re-breaks his collarbone mid-race. And even then, whoever they put in as a substitute driver with how fast the 88 is probably going to win that race too. Truck Series back at Darlington. We both are on the same guy. Me for a top 3 parlay, Layne Riggs at plus 120 over on Bet365. I don't have as much faith in this as I did the Ty Majeski top 3 in their last race at Richmond, but it's a combo of needing a guy who's going to be fast and needing my Corey Heim insurance for when the 11 car gets to victory lane at a completely unbettable outright number. Layne Riggs here last year. This was one of the first races I remember early on in the year. It was like the 9th race of the year for the Truck Series or something. The first one where you really looked at Layne Riggs is like, hey, this kid who kind of had a couple good runs here and there might actually have a shot at being a pretty solid truck driver. Ran top 10, top 5 a lot throughout the night, pretty quick. Ran into some issues. I forget if it was a crash or a pit road thing, something like that. Knocked him back. But Darlington, one of those places he can run pretty well at. He's got the speed. He's had a good year in this 34 truck, already tying his total from last year in wins and above his top 5 and top 10 total. One of those title dark horses. You know, Corey Heim in this format is not a guaranteed champion. Layne Riggs is going to be one of those guys that is right on his heels, and he's run that well lately in this summer stretch that stretches on into the playoffs here. We're dating back even to Pocono here for the last 5 races, but 2 wins in the last 5 races, top 4 in each of the last 3 and 6 of the last 7 oval races in the Truck Series. Top 3 is not that far ahead of a top 5 and a top 4. I'm just asking for one more spot. This is my Heim insurance. This is Riggs staying right on his back bumper and getting him at plus money, but not a problem with throwing him in a parlay either, like you did.
Yeah, he's been coming on, and it's just such an elite Truck Series driver. He's right there behind Corey Heim's the best guy right now out there ripping one of these units. So give me the rig 'em up parlay plus 100. I'm going right back to Alabama money line. I'm taking this with Layne Riggs top 5 for minus 145 to even money. And he finished second to only Kyle Larson at Homestead earlier this year. Started 8th at Darlington last year. Was P6 in stage 1, P4 in stage 2 before things went sideways for him. So Layne Riggs.
Those numbers for me. I didn't have them.
Yep. Rig them up, Layne Riggs. And I'll round you out here. Jake Garcia plus 125 against Rajah Caruth. 2 units down for me. Love finding a way of getting invested on Jake Garcia, who worked his way into the Truck Series playoffs with just consistency, good finishes, not high-end finishes, but getting it done week in and week out. So much that he has a better average running position, or average starting position, 8.25, the second best in the series, actually, behind only Corey Heim, and a better average finish than Rajah Caruth by a good margin, too. So despite the P20 finish last year, Garcia had one of his best days in a truck. 8.2 average running position, spent 99% of the laps inside the top 10. Rajah, on the other hand, he had to start out back with the squirrels like he likes to do often on these 1.5 miles. And P26 wrecked out on lap 97, finished back end of the pack. Garcia also got the best of him at Homestead earlier this year, P7 in that race. So I'm going to take the plus money side of this matchup for Jake Garcia and run.
I don't hate it. Garcia, one of those sneaky guys in the playoffs. And Caruth, a guy who, he got the win to sneak into the playoffs, but Hoping he doesn't get another one of my season-long bets is Kruth under 1.5 wins, which I thought was a slam dunk, but I thought Austin Dillon under half a win was a slam dunk too, and lost that one in Richmond. Going to be a fun weekend. Got some Portland racing out on the road, and got the Lady in Black setting up a wonderful date this weekend at Darlington. In Between Media is the place to be. If nothing else, give us a like and subscribe if you like the content. Seth, I'll give the floor to you for any other last-minute plugs.
No, guys, it's been such an awesome time here on the channel over the past couple weeks. All the fantasy football, all the NFL content is going bananas right now. So thank you all so much for your support. As Elliot said, the easiest way to support us, please give this video a thumbs up. Also, make sure you're subscribing if you're new. Check out our other content here, whether you're into NFL and fantasy football content, whether you like college football, whether you like NASCAR, PGA, entertainment betting. We got you all right here at IBT. Check out the website in-betweenmedia.com. And if you guys want more of us, join that IBT Racing family as well. The link to that is in the episode description. We're going to get access into our Discord, chat with us and our friends, exclusive weekly betting model access, entry into our giveaways, and our full weekly betting cards. Elliot's always got an absolute gainer, so he can't get everything in each and every week that he wants to put out there. But want to shout out everyone who's riding with us. Hunter, thanks, guys. Great content. Thank you, Hunter. Thank you, TK, John, Kush, Marcus, Nick, everyone who's been riding with us all day long. We appreciate you guys so much, and hope you all have a blessed last weekend of summer here, Elliot, and I hope everyone keeps it in between out there as well.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The fall's right around the corner. Football season's a lot of fun. Get in the IBT football family as well with that same purchase of the racing family. But most importantly, NASCAR playoff season gets rolling. Best of luck with your Darlington and Portland bets, and we'll see you around the block next time on the Backroad.